With this next section of this chapter, which is starting on page 11, we are working with sorting and filtering data in your tables. So you need to open up the file called A1D5RC3. A1D5RC3. And again, I just like to open up the File Explorer window here and open from here versus going File and Open. But whatever works for you, A1D5RC3. And again, we'll have to hit Enable Content. And again, I can't believe I haven't seen it, but you might get access asking you if you want to make this a trusted source. If that comes up for you, just click yes. And that just means that it won't keep asking you that. Maybe that's why it's not asking me, because I've clicked yes before on some of this. So in this particular file, you can see we have multiple tables going on here, and we have a query, a form, and a report. And we're just going to be in this file for a very short time just to show you how you can sort. So we're going to click on the patients table here. And in data sheet view, you can see we have first name, last name, so on. And we're going to show you how you can sort and filter just with your tables here real quickly if you want to. So very similar to how you might do that in Excel if you're used to working in Excel. But if I wanted to sort by last name here, for instance, notice I can click anywhere in here. I don't have to select the entire column. But notice in here in the sort and filter group, we have an ascending and descending button. So I hit ascending, and you can see that it has done this in ascending order by last name. Notice the little arrow here that shows me that I sorted it by last name there. I could also do it in descending order. The one thing about doing it in this view is that if I would go to, let's say I want to decide I want to sort by city as well, I can choose ascending. And so now you can see that it's first in, it's sorted by city, and it's still sorted by last name. So for instance, I can see that last name is now the secondary sort. Sarasota has it sorted by Bush, Cook, Craft. So we do have two sorts going on here. Now I should have probably tested this before I decided to record this, but it used to be that if you sorted something in a table and you closed the table, I'm going to just say yes. I'm going to save my changes. I'm going to go back in, and it does keep the sorts. Okay, so just so you know, when you do sort, it does remember that, and it keeps that when you close out the table and bring it back. It used to not do that, so that's good to know that if you do sort it, it saves it. The other thing I want to show you is filtering. You can also filter right from this window. So if you remember when I first showed you how to use query, or when I first showed you a query in that initial database we were working in, one way to ask a question of the data is to tell it to only show certain cities. Well, you can also do that simply through a filter. So I could click on, in this particular table, I could click on filter, and I could say I want to sort it by city. Because I'm already clicked in city there, it's going to let me sort by city. And I could select all, and then I could only select what I want to show. So let's say I want to show only the patients that are in Tampa, and then I would click OK. And then you can see that it's only showing me Tampa here. And you can see, again, I know that it's filtered because the little filter symbol shows there. Now the filtering is one thing. If I say yes here and I go back into my patients table, the filtering is one thing that does not stay with your information. So a filter is a really quick way of doing it. If you wanted to save that information, then you'd have to go in and do it as a query, and that's not for another chapter or two. So quick filter would just be clicking the filter button. I think in the book they had us do it with the Rotarian Clinic East doctors. I could open up that table. And if I don't first click in a field, I could click in the zip code if that's what I want to filter by. And again, I would hit deselect select all first, unless you want to go through and uncheck all of those. And then I could bring up a specific zip code there. I'm going to bring up 34205, and you can see that it just shows us the two records there that meet that criteria. And to turn off the filter, I could go back and choose select all again. It brings it back. Or I could just choose toggle filter here, and it basically undoes the filter. So that's filtering in Excel, or I'm sorry, Access.